So for this one, we're going to find the slope-intercept form of a line. So let's outline what that is first. Okay, so the slope, what that is, looks like it's y equals mx plus b, where m is your slope and your b is your y-intercept. Now, there is more than one way to find this equation given 2 points. I'm going to show you a way that I think is more simple and easier, and you don't have to do as many steps, but it isn't by and far isn't the only way that you can do this. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is find our slope. Now, remember, our slope is the change in y over the change in x. Now that looks like y sub 1 minus y sub 2 over y sub 2, x sub 1 minus x sub 2. Now you go and look at your 2 points, and you can label them however you want to. The way I did this was my x sub 1 and my y sub 1. The key thing is that your subtext has to match. Okay, so it has to be x sub 1 with y sub 1. You don't want to mix them up. And so if that's x sub 1 and that's y sub 1, then that means this is x sub 2, y sub 2. And all those 1s and 2s they're just designations. They're not used as variables. They're just there to tell us what those numbers represent. Okay, so 15 represents x sub 1. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come back to my little equation here, and I'm going to take my y sub 2, which is y sub 1, and I'm just going to subtract my y sub 2, which is 4. And then on the bottom, I'm going to take 15 and subtract 10. Now the key thing is that, again, you have to make sure that you're using the same. So you use this point is the same in the front, and this point is the same in the second. You don't mix it around. Otherwise, you're going to wind up with an incorrect answer. And that's most devastating when you're trying to do these problems. Okay, so now 2 minus 4 is going to give me a negative 2. 15 minus 10 is going to give me a 5. So my slope is a negative 2/5. That means it's going to be going down instead of up. So a slope that's got a positive slope is going to go like this. And this is a slope that's negative. So that's a negative slope. This is a positive slope. That's all that means, is what that means. Now we still don't have our equation. We don't have our line. We don't have our line. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a formula called the point slope formula. So we're going to have y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. Okay, so let's fill in what we know. Okay, we know y, what it is. I'm going to leave some room here. We know a slope is negative 2/5. And we know that x is x, okay? And we're going to put our minus signs in here. And now for y sub 1 and x sub 1, it doesn't matter which point you choose. You could choose this one or you can choose this one. It doesn't matter. It just means you have to be consistent and use both numbers from the same point. Okay, so for me, I chose what I originally labeled as x sub 2. I used that one. I could do this one, but I'm going to do this one here. So my y is 4. Remember, these are always labeled as x, y here. This is our x and this is our y. Okay, so 4 is my y, and then my x is 10. So I'm going to put those in, and now I'm going to solve the equation. So y minus 4 equals, and then I'm going to go 2/5 x, and then I'm going to have a negative 10. I'm going to put it over 1 just because I'm working with a fraction here, and I'm going to multiply by 2/5 here. Okay, now my next line is still going to be y minus 4 equals negative 2/5 x. And then here, I'm going to do something called cross-canceling. I'm going to take 5 into 5 and I get 1. I'm going to take 5 into 10 and I get 2. And so then what I do is I multiply straight across. Negative 2 times negative 2 is going to give me a positive 4. And then on the 1 times 1 is 1, so that becomes 4. So down here, becomes plus 4 for that little section right there. And now what I'm going to do is I need to get y by itself because our final answer has y by itself. So I'm going to add a 4 to both sides. Okay. And that's going to give me this. What's going to happen on this side is this cancels out. And so that's going to leave me with just plain old y over here. The negative 2/5 x drops down. Plus 4 gives me plus 8. And my final answer is this right here. Y equals negative 2/5 x plus 8. If you want to check your answer and see if it works, put one of these points in. You might even take the other point that you didn't use and make sure it works. Okay, so what that means is if I do that, I'm going to put 2 in for y, so 2 equals a negative 2/5. My x is 15, so I'm going to have it multiply 15 over 1. Because I'm working with fractions, I just put it over 1. Keeps things in the right place. And then I have a plus 8. And so we have 2 equals, and then 5 goes into itself. 5 goes into itself once, and it goes into 15 3 times. So I wind up with negative 2 times 3, so it's negative 6 plus 8. So 2 does indeed equal negative 6 plus 8. So that shows me that my equation worked out just well for my second point as well. So I could be reasonably sure that I have a correct answer.